Hi there booktube, it's Eleanor here and it's time for my December TBR and I've been waiting and I'm really excited. I've decided in December that other than the books that I'm reading for my booktuber recommends, there is a book that I am desperate to get to this year, which is my main focus for the month. I am going to be focusing on Christmassy type books, just to get into the Christmas spirit. I didn't do this last year, but I really wanted to, and so this year I've picked all the books off my shelf that I can find that feel Christmassy or wintry or snowy, and I'm going to be reading those. But before I get into those, let's just talk about the books that I'm going to be reading that are for various reasons. So I've got two books left on my booktuber recommends TBR, so I must get to those. The first is Sweep by Kate Tiernan. This is a bind up of the first three books, but I'm just going to be concentrating on the first one and seeing how I get on. This was my recommendation from Benjamin of Tomes, and so I'm looking forward to finally getting to this one. And I've got one other one that was on my list, which was recommended to me by Lindsay from Lindsay Ray, and that is The Lies of Loch Namora by Scott Lynch, so I will be picking that one up too. I have one review book that I want to get to this month because it comes out in January and I want to be able to review it for you, and that is The Dark Days Club by Alison Goodman, and I got this when I went to the Walker Books event a few months ago, so I'm going to read this to let you know what I think because it comes out in January. And there is a big book that I'm planning on reading this month, and it will be my main focus. I've desperately wanted to read this book. I would really like to read it by the end of the year. And so this book that I'm going to be reading is The Count of Monte Cristo by Alexandre Dumas. I was going to call it Dumas December, which, you know, fondly I may call it that myself. I think rather than reading a non-fiction alongside a fiction this month, I'm going to be splitting this up into chunks, and I shall be trying to read say 30 or 40 pages of this a day to get this finished by the end of the month. I do know that there was maybe 5 or 6 booktubers that were really interested in reading this with me this month, and I'm really sorry that I haven't made a note of everybody's names, but if you're watching this video and you want to read it this month with me, let me know and I'll add us all into a Voxer group. I want to keep it relatively small, so probably just 5 or 6 of us, but I don't think there was more than that anyway. So if you wanted to read this with me and you'd mentioned it before, let me know again and we'll set up a little Voxer group and work out how we're going to read it. But otherwise, even if no one joins me, I am going to read this book because I hear such wonderful things from loads of people, especially Jenny from Jenny King, who I know really loves this, and it's about time I read it, even if it's a hunker. So I'm going to be picking this one up. And now for all of my Christmassy type reads. I've picked up lots of different books that make me feel Christmassy and I can't wait to read. So the first one is called The Secret of Happy Ever After by Lucy Dillon. I don't think you can see this, but it's even got sparkly snow on it. I think this is your average type of chick lit. It's about a girl who takes over a bookshop, and I just love that. It's a book about books. It looks like it's set at Christmas time, and so I just can't wait to read this one. I think it'll be a feel-good book. Next is When Nights Were Cold by Susanna Jones. I think this is a psychological thriller. I'll read you the back. It says, as the eve of the Second World War approaches, Grace Farrington, once the daring founder of a women's mountain climbing society, is trapped in her Dulwich home, haunted by the terrible events that took place out on the mountains year before. Grace is the last surviving member of the secret society she founded, and at last she is finally ready to remember and to confess. From one of the finest writers of psychological thriller comes this beautifully woven, deeply unsettling historical novel, powerfully atmospheric, shivering with menace, and reminiscent of the very best of Sarah Waters. High praise indeed, so I'm excited about that one. Next is a book that is just set in a snowy clime, and that is Klomsky Heights by Lionel David. This again is a thriller. I think this is sort of set in Siberia, in a Russian underground research station. The scientists, once they're there, are not allowed to leave, but one scientist manages to get a message out, and maybe this is some sort of escape type story, so I'm excited to try this one. Next is a very Christmassy feeling book, and that is My True Love Gave to Me, which is edited by Stephanie Perkins and is 12 winter stories. I'm going to be reading these stories if I can, one a day, but it depends how I get on with the Count of Monte Cristo. I might just sit down and read this in one sitting, and it's such a beautiful book. Next is a book that I heard about on Kirsty from Kirsty on Books channel, and that is 2 a.m. at the Cat's Pyjamas by Marie Helen Bertino. I believe this is set at Christmas in a jazz club and is about a not quite 10-year-old little girl who's desperate to sing at this club, and I think it's going to be a really short, wonderful Christmassy book. Next again is not a Christmas feel-good book, but is set in colder climes, and that is Snow White Must Die by Nell Niehaus. This is a Scandinavian crime book. It's about when two 17-year-old girls go missing. A young boy is imprisoned for it, and years later when he is released, I think you know, the story goes, perhaps we find out a bit more about what happened to those two girls and find out that maybe he wasn't to blame. I don't know, but it's you know, your typical Scandinavian crime book, and I've heard it's really good. Next is a book I hauled recently, which is Winter Town, which is Story and Art by Stephen Edmund. This book has both text and graphics in it, and is about two best friends, a girl and a boy. I think the girl moves away and she visits every Christmas, but one Christmas she comes back. I think she's about 17. She's not the same. She's a totally different person, and the young man is desperate to get to the bottom of what is going on. I think this is going to be a really really heartfelt book. And then I have a few books. One of them is on my Kindle, but all three of them are by Giovanna Fletcher. The first one is Billy and Me, and then there's the one that I want, and I think there is a Billy and Me at Christmas, so I want to have read Billy and Me before I get to Billy and Me at Christmas. These are written by Giovanna Fletcher, who is also a YouTuber and obviously an author, and I've wanted to get to these for ages, and so this seems like the perfect opportunity. I think they are chick lit type books and just perfect for this time of year. So that's all the books that I'm hoping to get to this month. No doubt I will not get to all of them, but I'm hopeful. I really want to read The Count of Monte Cristo. I think that's going to be my focus to get through bits of that every day. And yeah, let me know if you've read any of these, what you're reading for December. Are you reading anything to get you into the Christmas spirit? I look forward to speaking to you soon. Bye for now, BookTube.